Hey everyone, Sean here. I just wanted to give a quick reminder that I'm going to plug in at the beginning of every episode. Joe is currently on hiatus. Big bummer. We miss him to death. But while he's away, I wanted to just, keep putting stuff out and keep being creative and coming up with new ideas and concepts and shows and stuff. So the feed is going to have a bunch of different things, a bunch of different guests, a bunch of different interviews, all sorts of stuff while Joe is away. If you tune out, that's totally cool. I understand. But I do appreciate everyone that sticks around and hangs out with us while we're doing this new adventure. And if you are waiting for Joe, just know that if you see an episode and it says THS and a number on it, Joe will be in that episode. If it's not that, there's probably no Joe. Probably, I think. So anyway, keep that in mind, and keep an eye out for if and when Joe ever returns, and hope he's doing great. And can't wait to see what we can do while he's away, and then hopefully get that guy back in here. So anyway, guys, thank you all so much and enjoy this episode. So May 9th weekend saw Thunderbolts, Sinners, and Minecraft continue their dominance in theaters. Movies like The Accountant 2 and Until Dawn still moving. But the most exciting thing about that weekend was Clown in a Cornfield being in the top 5 films that weekend, and on about 1,000 less screens, no less than those previously mentioned blockbusters. With a $3.6 million opening weekend, it became IFC's biggest theatrical grosser ever, as well as the biggest box office opening for the company. You heard our episode last week talking about how much we enjoyed the movie. And this week, we are super excited to be joined by director Eli Craig to discuss his newest movie, Clown in a Cornfield. Welcome to the show, Eli.
Yeah, great to be here.
How are you? How is everything? You're out in California?
No, I am actually in Vancouver, Canada. In the rain today, but it's beautiful this time of year as spring is happening. So no, I'm a Canadian, man.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay, that's good to know. I've always wanted to go, particularly Toronto and Vancouver. Those seem like the cities to visit.
That is the city to visit. Where are you?
Vancouver, Connecticut.
Gotcha.
So equally as cold and miserable during the winter. So
yeah, well, it's rainy here in the winter, but probably a little colder.
Oh, right. Vancouver's on the west side. That's right. Yeah. That's right. I have a friend in Vancouver Island, and it looks amazing.
Yeah. Pretty spot for sure.
Yeah. So how has the reception to Clown in a Cornfield been, and how have you felt about the reception so far?
By and large, pretty awesome. We had such a good rollout of this movie. I mean, it was so insane to see. My whole dream was actually, when I made the film, I just wanted to play at South by Southwest. The only thing I wanted for the film was that we played ideally Midnight Madness. I actually didn't see us playing anything other than Midnight, but we actually fortunately got to play it like a better spot, 7 p.m. Oh. And the only thing I wanted was to be at the Paramount Theater at South by. And when we got that, I was like, done, check, done. Bucket list done. And then when I found out we were getting the theatrical release, and I mean, that was also a dream come true, but I was already feeling like we had accomplished what I wanted to with the film. It was a small film, and I was just stoked to see it come out in movie theaters. And yeah, if we were like 5th behind The Accountant 2, and we beat out Until Dawn that weekend, so it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. No, it's huge. Cool. It was huge. That was super impressive. I love the South by Southwest thing. I remember seeing, when I started seeing the commercials during NBA playoffs, I was like, wait, is this movie? Because I'd heard about the movie, and then I started seeing the trailer during the NBA games, and I was like,
oh, that's
what?
Cool.
This is wild. Like, okay, like, you've caught my interest.
Well, I'm stoked it was playing, because I'm, like I said, in Canada, so I wasn't sure where the spots were playing, but now to hear that they were playing during the NBA games is great.
It was crazy. I was like, this is wild. Like, so the marketing was A+ there.
Cool.
And like you said, you were going toe to toe with some of those like heavy hitters. I think people usually see that as a negative for a release. I have some thoughts on it, but I wanted to hear your thoughts on whether you thought that was a negative or a positive this time around.
Well, it would definitely help if there's nothing else in the theaters. You
So
know? Yeah.
I usually agree with that, but there was something going on this month. I feel like, so this month we're doing, it's called Movie Theater May. So we're doing all the theater movies this month. We usually do like classics and stuff like that. And the theater was just like buzzing this month. And it just felt like there might've been some great overflow with that, where that helped out some of these like smaller movies. And so I don't know, because like Sinners was sold out every night. Every night I tried to go see it. And I was just wondering, like, it just seemed like maybe it felt like people were buzzing about theaters in general. And like,
I hope so. I mean, that's a really cool thought. I think it is like some of these movies that have come out lately and including Minecraft movie, you know, that I don't think people were like totally in love initially with the movie itself.
yeah,
But like the movement around it, like the joy that people had and the chicken jockey thing, it's all kind of good for theaters after the cleanup.
yeah, yeah.
I think, you know, movie theaters are a great place for people to go and have like a communal experience. And I think with movies like Sinners coming out, I mean, horror is going through a revival period. That's sort of awesome. And
Yeah.
yeah, just to get people to go to the movies is great. And to be a part of that, I'm overjoyed.
Yeah, no, it just seemed, and you know, maybe you guys would have done better without those movies in it, but there just felt like something, I don't know, there was just a different energy in the theaters. Like you said, I saw Minecraft with my son, and the theater was, I've never seen a theater more full in my
Yeah.
life.
Well, it's like you say, it's like, how would the overflow parking do without the other parking being full? Like, I don't know.
Right.
Maybe if I'm the overflow parking, then yeah, then fuck yeah. Like we need to get as many people into the movie theater as possible so that it's Sinners is full and Minecraft movie is full and Accountant 2 is full. And then you're like, well, what's this clown in a cornfield nonsense? You know,
Yeah.
let's go see that one.
And maybe not even just like overflow, but just, you know, they went and saw these two great experiences or whatever, because they were out weeks ahead of you, obviously. And then it just felt like people caught a bug this month where it was like, yeah, let's go to the theater again. Like Sinners was great. Let's go back. Like Minecraft was great. Let's go back. So I was just curious about that. It seemed like a weird revival there. So written by Adam Caesar, the book Clown in a Cornfield. Temple Hill Entertainment buys the rights to it. How do you get involved in this movie?
They sent it to me actually, like during just somewhere during the end of the pandemic in 2020. And they sent me an early draft of the script by Carter Blanchard, who is a really good, like, kind of action writer.
Yeah.
And it had a lot of big action set pieces and stuff, which were cool, but we couldn't afford to do. Sadly, we couldn't afford to do some of them, but some of them I had to find creative solutions around. And then for me, I was like, with a name like Clown in a Cornfield, my pitch to them is like, let's just make it a little bit tongue in cheek and a little fun and not have a movie that takes itself very seriously.
Okay.
Because if you read the book, you'd be surprised. It's like a pretty serious book. It's
Yeah.
a YA book, but it's not very jokey, you know, and the themes are pretty deep. And you know, the thought was, let's use the themes of the book and embrace the characters and then just add a bit of a tonal levity to it. So I took a pass on the script, and the you know, the guys at the production company at Temple Hill really liked it. Temple Hill doesn't finance movies though. They just say, yeah, great, you know, go do this. And then we went out and found the financing and shot it in Winnipeg in Canada, and basically with an all Canadian cast too, and made it look like we were shooting in Kettle Springs, Missouri, brought in the American flags and the American license plates, and you know, sold it to America.
That's awesome. The blend of, because the book obviously very heavy social commentary, and you did not leave that out. And I thought the way you blended that, especially in 2025, it seems like it's harder to do now to blend these things without some corner of the
I
internet.
definitely got my share of like, you know, go fuck yourself. We don't need social commentary in a movie. Like, you know, if you look at there's a fair amount of like ones that, you know, they're just like pissed off about social commentary, or they haven't seen the movie and they're just like, this is a one.
Piling on, right?
Yeah.
But I honestly thought it was so well done and so not heavy-handed and natural and just speaking on like basic human things, like not choosing a side in any way, sort of just being like, hey, this is humanity we're talking about. I thought it was amazing, and to mix that with the comedy, you did an incredible job with that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's you know, you got to be on for the ride to embrace some of those tonal changes. Like, we were definitely aware that we're going to make a movie with multiple tones throughout it.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to play a little comedy up front to just be like, okay, this is a movie that's going to have fun with itself, but then kind of sink into a more classic sort of slasher, you know, fall in love with the girl tropey opening, and just kind of be like, okay, this is the movie we're getting. It's going to be, you know, a slasher that's going for that kind of 80s throwback feel. And who's the guy that's in the mask? And then change that up to being something maybe a little more modern, maybe, but also that's a throwback. They're like, because I was also pitching it as like, yeah, I don't know if you ever saw the old movie Footloose. Kevin Bacon. It's like Footloose was very much this cultural division, you know, movie. Obviously not a horror movie, but kind of. You can't dance in Footloose. So it was like Footloose meets Scream, you know, meets like fucking Darth Vader or something.
Yeah. No, it was a really cool blend of those things, and your comedy elements really hit. I'm going to be honest. There was a few that got me. I loved, without giving anything away, just that the first Cole reveal in that when the three girls are just like, oh, I was like,
did it time right to your realization as well? Because that's
100%, 100%. Like,
because that was the most satisfying thing in my South by Southwest screening. Because the first time I saw it with the crowd, because like as an indie film, a lot of times you're trying to test it. It's just with like family and friends and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're watching their faces. Are they ahead of you? And trying to balance that to land like right when the audience was feeling that. And it was really great in South by Southwest. If you haven't seen the film, I guess I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's this moment where everybody in the audience has a realization at the same time as people on screen have it. And that was pretty fun.
It was awesome. And producer Alexi actually said she saw it twice in the last 2 weeks. Cool. She said on the second watch, she was like, oh my God, it's like all there. Like it just, there's like these little things that drop, and then somehow no one picks up on it until that moment. Where like,
because that's where I was leading into the sort of the Scream tropes and stuff of who's the killer. And this guy's there's something off with him, but the things that's off with him is not the thing that you may think it is from previous knowledge of horror.
Yeah, absolutely. So how involved was Adam in the filmmaking process? Was he involved at all? Did you have to like run things by him or collaborate with him on the story?
No, and it's super rare for even Stephen King is like not involved, you know, with the directing part of it or really the story part. But I did sit down with him. I met him and we talked out like the themes that were really important to him and the character elements, and they were pretty in sync with what was important to me. Like part of the thing we're talking about with Cole was really important, and then the elements of Arthur that come to life toward the end of it. And then just I think that the main twist of it had to be there. I was really excited about the scene where Frendo comes out of the corn, I'm trying to beat around the bush. I mean, I've been doing so many interviews where I'm not giving anything away. I kind of feel like maybe this one, at this point, it's been out a couple of weeks. Maybe people have seen it, but
Yeah, feel free. I mean, we'll post like a spoiler thing on it. We did an episode last week where we got into it like in detail. So,
yeah, yeah. So I mean,
and
spoilers. When spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it and you like anything we've said so far, go see it and then come
yes.
back. Spoiler alert is that when the multiple friendos come out of the corn, and that was a scene that I just really felt like I wanted to shoot. And it's almost the whole reason why I made the movie was for that. And then kind of ongoing from there. And it's a weird twist on a slasher film where the knife cuts both ways, right? Like the kids are able to kill a lot of the slashers. Like they are also being proactively, killers in it. And so both sides suffer attrition. And that was the part that I was like, okay, this is pretty unique because most slasher film, there's one killer and he's out getting everybody and people don't really get to fight back except for the end.
That's a great point. That was for sure one of the best parts of it was, watching a friendo get his hand fucking blown off and you're just like, what is happening? Like, this is crazy.
Yeah. It's just like big, your grand plans go awry.
Yeah.
What is war is preparation and then chaos. Right. And it was like, they thought they had this perfect plan. I think in my head, the friendos or the guys doing that. And then once they put that plan into action, kind of everything goes wrong in a very human way. Yeah. And they aren't really having the best night at all.
No.
Very hard night.
It reminds me sort of what is it? I reference it all the time on the show, but I Saw the Devil. It's like a Korean film. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. Yeah. But there's the serial killer and you're like, and the husband wants to get revenge and you're like, oh, nice. But then it suddenly turns into the husband is like insane. And like, even the serial killer is like, you're fucking nuts, man. Like, leave me alone. Like you're insane.
I love, like, to me also, that is a little bit like my first film, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, where, Chad, the villain, becomes the guy who's just misinterpreted the whole situation, but sees himself as Batman. And I even did a short for Tucker and Dale that's on the DVD called Tucker and Dale Are Evil. That's a 30-minute film only from the kids' perspective of Tucker and Dale looking like. And if you saw the world through their eyes, you'd be like, yeah, it makes sense. Tucker and Dale were killing everybody from their perspective. And Chad thought he was a superhero,
That is an interesting, oh man, I'm gonna have to check that out. I love that movie. And that movie is actually probably one of our most recommended movies to cover on the show. Probably in like our top 3 requests. The only reason we haven't is because to me it's too fun. So I can't riff on a movie that's good and funny. I've always struggled with that. So it's like, what am I going to say about this? It's already so funny. It's already tongue in cheek. Like, I'll just go through it and be like, this is funny.
Yeah. Like it's the movie's kind of in on the joke a bit, right? So you can't really make fun. It's like impervious to being made fun of.
Yeah. And we don't, like, we can do a good movie and talk about it, but it just seems like that's just, I don't know. It's just like too fun of a movie to do. So I've never covered it on the show before. So, but this is your third horror comedy, but arguably leans a little bit more on the side of horror on that.
Good.
Are you a horror genre lover, or are you just somebody that loves making them? I know we've talked to some people, Jeff Daniel Phillips, the actor, recently. He is like, I don't really know anything about the horror genre. Like, I love being in them, but I don't know anything about them. Are you like a genre fan, or
I kind of loved the horror films that were a little bit tongue in cheek. Like that wouldn't be a surprise to you, but I remember like in college, I think the reason why Tucker and Dale came about in some ways was my love for Evil Dead. Evil Dead 2, I just saw so many times. Kind of, it was the go-to film when we got drunk in college and went home after a party or something. It was me and my buddy be like, what should we watch? How about Evil Dead 2 again? And we would always turn that on and just laugh and have a fun time with that, and Army of Darkness and stuff. And then I was never a super fan of just the very gory films for the sake of gore. But I respect them. I always, like, I don't even know if I could do it. I have I have a very tongue-in-cheek personality. Like, it's hard for me to take things too seriously.
Yeah.
And when I'm directing like a horror sequence, sometimes I'm like, damn, dude, that looks brutal. And I think my own gore, like especially nowadays, I realize like the gore level that people can tolerate is like higher than mine.
Oh yeah.
So I kind of am a little like, I even Clown in a Cornfield, I was like, okay, I'm going for it. I'm going gory. And a lot of people are like, fucking not gory enough, man. And I think some of that just is because it's a clown movie and Terrifier 3 came out before us. And, you know, if Terrifier 3 hadn't come out and been such a massive success, I don't think so many people would compare it or try to compare it.
Right.
But anybody that goes in thinking this is going to be like a Terrifier movie is disappointed, because it is light gore compared to that.
Yeah. Yeah. We actually talked about that on the last episode too. I would take this 100 times over that, but that's okay. Even though our network
structure different folks, right? Like Damien Malone is like a master of gore effects. Like his special effects are incredible. And I like that a lot of it is just in camera, like literally just gory, like body effects and special effects and all kinds of prosthetics and stuff. And that's cool. But I grow a little tired of that quickly.
Your head smashing scene though was pretty incredible. At the culmination of that, that scene was awesome.
That gets a lot of movies, but it's a very sudden thing. That's different.
Yeah, it's quick.
Hanging out with it forever.
Yeah, which I kind of appreciate too. I don't know. That's kind of the way they were when we were younger. I felt like it was just like, it didn't linger on them often. It was just like this moment where you're like, oh my God, like that's nuts. Like, well, let me rewind that and watch that again really fast.
Yeah.
You know? Like, check it out like that. I actually had, because we had to tighten the interview up a little bit. I had a question where I was going to ask you about a sequel to any horror movie. Which one would you make? I was hoping you would say Evil Dead, because I'm now on a mission to get Bagley from You.
Yeah.
I think he can be Ash. I think he can do it. Wow. I saw a still from You where he's wearing khaki pants and a blue shirt, and I was like, hey, this guy might be Ash. I think this guy could pull it off.
I think it would be very nerve-wracking for me to try to pull off, because I mean, people have done Evil Dead thing in their own way, you know.
Yes,
and mostly is horror. Like let's push the horror part of it, but nobody's really gotten the campy fun, I think, of Evil Dead 2.
That I think you can do it. I think you can do it. If there's anyone I trust, it's going to be you to do it.
Okay, I'll mark that down. That's like messing with, though, like one of the great. I just don't want to fuck it up. People
would freak out. People would freak out for sure. It would be bad. But I think it can be done, and I'm not somebody that loves it. But hey, you know what? It's better than nothing. Let's keep it rolling. Let's get a new Ash going. You know?
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
That's how I feel. So Tucker Dale versus Evil. How do you direct horror comedy moments differently than that straight horror? And that's actually more related to Clown in a Cornfield, because I felt like that had more moments of tension in it where you were really like, oh, like this is something bad's going to happen here. How was that directing, you know, those horror comedy moments, and when you have to like beef it up a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, in some ways those films are opposites, in that Tucker and Dale was every kill, every death scene had to be like the funniest thing in the movie. Yeah. And so every death got massive laughs. And for Clown in a Cornfield, I wanted aside from when the kids were goofing off and making their own little films, I wanted those scenes to play like, oh shit, that dude's dead. Like the deaths themselves are very real. And it's some of the reactions and some of the character development that's going on alongside of all that is funny. But the murders themselves are really not. Some of them are like cool, fun, but they're not like haha funny. So I was trying to just separate out the horror from the comedy a bit more in Clown in a Cornfield. And when I was doing the horror parts, be like, this should be grisly and like a really kind of brutal, maybe sometimes surprising scene. And then it's sort of the aftermath is where I'd look for the comedy.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. So Little Evil it is a low-key comedy powerhouse. You have so many comedians in it. You have so many great character actors that are great at comedy in that. And it felt very loose, sort of, and not so like, I don't know how to explain, like not storyboarded, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the case for Little Evil? And how was it with Clown in a Cornfield? Was it also similar to that, where you were a little bit looser with it, or?
Clown in a Cornfield is the deaths themselves have to be pretty storyboarded because every sequence that involves stunts just has to be kind of mapped out pretty clearly. And I would say that is true with Little Evil. It just depends on the scene, some of it's very loose, but like the end sequence on Little Evil, that also was a pretty low budget film. So you have to be very certain kind of like what you're doing next and everything. Like the end sequence is very complicated to shoot in a couple days. So that was storyboarded out. But I will say that low key is the right word for that. I was kind of going for this kind of low key British humor in that. And Adam Scott, once he signed on, I was like, well, he's got such a kind of subtle humor. Yeah. It's so subtle. It's actually so subtle that it takes a different brainwave kind of. You have to be a little more chilled out, I think, to really appreciate that movie. But I love that people, some people really love that movie. They have to be in the right zone where you're not just like waiting for the next laugh kind of thing. But you see some of Adam Scott's reactions. It very much cracks me up when they're doing the Rosemary Baby sort of reveal, and Evangeline Lilly is giving him a back massage and telling him how she was impregnated, which was this sort of cultish Rosemary's Baby type situation. And Adam Scott's hearing about his stepchild and how he was born for the very first time. And there's just these little reactions in his eyes. Like, I feel like you could have told me about that before we got married. I don't know. It cracks me up, but it is quite a bit more subtle than the sort of big American style slapstick humor of Tucker and Dale.
For sure. Him and Bridget Everett in that first scene where they reveal Bridget Everett, she first shows up in the movie, is so funny, and his reactions to basically everything she says is so like subtle, but like okay, like I'll deal with it.
There were so few people I could find. I literally went after Bridget Everett, and it was before it was her first film she'd been in, right?
I think so, yeah.
No, it was. And I mean, she is like, I think, an amazing success right now. And I was so proud to I called her. I said, you have to be in this movie. And she said, I don't know. Acting's just never really worked out for me. I'm kind of like, it's just not going I just don't really want to do any more movies. She hadn't done any movies, but she'd been auditioning and like trying to get things going.
Yeah.
And she just felt very disheartened that she had gotten close with a lot of things and they weren't working out. And I said, no, I want you to be in this movie with Adam Scott. And she still wasn't sure that I wasn't going to rip the rug out from under her or disappoint her in some ways. And Adam had to call her and say, will you please just be in this movie with me? And it was really great. As soon as she was on set, I thought, okay, she's my Al,
Yeah, she's awesome. She's so good. And it's so crazy that she said that, because now she's done that Somebody Somewhere, which is acting chops, like real acting chops coming out for her in that. So it's a cool, that's a cool story. So you have to go. Last two questions. Do you have any comedy inspiration? I'm a huge comedy person. Obviously, you have all this comedy in your films. Any comedy heroes or inspirations you
It's
are like, this is what I want.
100%. Well, it's not 100%. It's Harold Ramis, really,
Okay.
as a director, writer, and Bill Murray were just like the perfect team for when I was growing up. And Harold Ramis used to talk about making smart, stupid movies
Yeah.
and smart, stupid comedies. And I just love that. I love stupid comedy, but then there's something you're saying underneath that's really, really wonderful. And I mean, the ultimate of that, I think, was Groundhog Day, but I loved everything those guys did together. I watched Stripes. For some reason, it was the movie I would go to and turn on all the time when I was sick. I had a VHS of Stripes and I'd watch that over and over. And, um, they were just such a good duo. And Bill Murray's always made me laugh. And, but always in such a grounded way. He was always like this sort of realistic guy,
Yeah.
everyman that just was struggling with something and, was such a likable figure. So it's kind of where my comedy comes from.
He always had the flaws that
Yeah.
he always had these flaws. And I don't know, there was something amazing about the way his characters were. I love that. Did
He did
you?
one serious movie called Razor's Edge that's worth checking out too. That
Ooh,
is just profoundly beautiful movie that he is this character that just very much feels like Bill Murray, and yet he's seeking like enlightenment. And anyway, it's a really wonderfully sort of complex book. Was by Somerset Maugham, and it was this great adaptation that kind of got overlooked. But I love watching comedic actors also in like sort of powerful, grounded, and sort of dramatic roles.
yeah.
He killed it with that.
Yeah. There was like a weird moment recently where that was like coming back with FX, especially the TV channel had like baskets with Zach Galifianakis
Yeah.
playing this, like, it was so insane. It was laugh out loud funny and so dramatic at the same time. And I think that balance is missing right now. I feel
Yeah.
like there's not a lot of people doing it.
Well, comedy in general is kind of missing almost. There's the stuff that's like Minecraft, that Jack Black will go do, like big budget comedy. But that medium tier or sort of low budget comedy is just not really
It's
existing.
gone.
Yeah.
I've been talking about that like the last few weeks on these movie things. We interviewed a theater owner who owns Cinema Salem in Salem, Mass, and it bums me out that those like mid-level comedies are just non-existent. Those are like all the movies we love growing up were these like mid-tier comedies that have just disappeared, and it's been such a. I feel like we're worse off without having it.
I mean, I think so too. It's funny that my kids, when they try to find a comedy to watch, it's always from like the 80s
Yeah.
or 90s at the oldest, but the go-to still to this day is like Airplane. Is the
Oh
funniest
yeah.
comedy for kids in the world. I mean, some of it's kind of raunchy and there's boobs and everything, but there should, it's
It's
good.
okay to have a little edge to it. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's art at the end of the day. I mean, it's to me, I've always viewed it as that, especially with my son. I've been like, it's like, this is comedy. Like, this is funny. This is art. Like,
Yeah,
it's
it's
okay.
comedy is underrated,
Yeah.
It's the best way to be underrated in entertainment business is to do comedy.
Yeah.
And then it's always treated as something not as significant, even
Yeah.
if it's just so hard to do. It is, I think it's much harder to do than a drama.
Way harder. Way harder. I mean, and especially to hit as many people with it as you can, and like finding an audience of a large scale when you're like trying to be that funny is a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, final question from producer Lexi. This is her question. Who do you think directed Poltergeist? Is it? We usually get the political answer of, you know, it's Toby Hooper. Some people have a little veered, some people have had a discussion. Do you have any thoughts on
Well,
that?
I think that you know, I guess it's such a commercial film for Toby Hooper to have made that it seems strange. Um I to go Texas Chainsaw Massacre and then Poltergeist, it's a very strange thing. I think that producers can have quite a bit of influence on a film, and it doesn't mean he didn't direct it, but boy, does it feel like a Steven Spielberg film, right?
Right. It
Um,
does.
so uh, I'm going to say Steven Spielberg directed it.
Oh,
No.
I forget which one's the right answer for producer Lexi. I think that's the right one though.
Yeah.
We'll have to pull her on after. I think that's the one that she's looking for. So yeah, Clown in a Cornfield. It's out now. Everyone check it out. They heard us raving about it last week. Anything else you wanted to plug or mention before you head out of here?
No, you know what's funny is my good friend from film school decided to just come in and like just blow the doors open on the box office with Final Destination 6. So Adam Stein and I went to film school together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and when I found out that he was releasing Bloodlines, or you know whatever, that Warner Brothers was releasing Bloodlines the weekend after us, it's like, really, dude? Really? Are you just like targeting me? But he's such a good dude, and I'm so happy for him that the film is doing so well. And my editor from Clown in a Cornfield edited Bloodlines, so there's a lot of crossing people in that film, but it's pretty cool to see friends that you went to film school with like working and doing great work.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think he's coming on the show. I forget when. He's coming on probably next week, I believe, or at the end of this week. So I'll let him know you were
Say hi for me.
Yeah, he absolutely will. And I'll tell him, hey, back off next time.
Yeah. You know what? It's when you have somebody that he's such a good person, you know, like if he was like, he was never my nemesis, like, oh God, if he was my nemesis, I'd be just seething. He's such a good dude that you're like, all right, man, you get this one. You get this one. He's a great guy and a great filmmaker. So I'm super proud of him.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, check out Clown in a Cornfield and then Final Destination Bloodlines after.
Yeah. Or either way, it could go the other way around. But buy the ticket for Clown in a Cornfield. We'll be out in theaters, I think, couple more weeks, I think. And then
that's great. Is there a streaming plan in place after?
Yeah, so it'll go to VOD and then it'll be streaming sort of right toward the fall.
Perfect.
Right near Halloween, like September, October on Shudder.
Oh, awesome. That's great. Yeah. That's great. All right, man. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time out. And again, check out Clown in a Cornfield. And thank you so much for joining us, Eli.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun.